Hello everybody, it's Flesson19 and welcome back to another guide, this one on leveling. With the new EXP system in 1.4.3, you no longer gain skill points relative to how your skills go up. In the old system, you would need to gain a total number of skill points, and then each time you gained one skill point, that would go towards this total. Now, this total is actually dependent upon raw EXP you get while using skills. This has actually caused some people to start stalling out at certain levels, mainly toward the mid to 20s to 30 range. And there is something that I've noticed, and that is a lot of people will broaden their skills instead of just focusing on certain ones. And what I do with my character is I just specialize in certain skills and not too many of them, so I can get them up as high as possible, because I've noticed that you get more EXP as your skill goes up, even for doing the same thing. To go ahead and prove this, what I did is I created a new character, and I went ahead and used a bow, and I killed 7 looters. That character had a learning limit rate of 7. And it's hard to track exactly how much EXP they get at lower levels, because I gained 8 skill points by doing it. However, I could tell by starting out at a brand new level 1 that when I got done with the battle, I had gained 750 skill points. Now, obviously, you're going to gain a little bit of riding, possibly a little bit of tactics involved into that. So I gained less than 750 points. At a learning limit times 7, that means I gained right around 100 raw EXP for that battle without the learning limit rate. And this is going to be important why I'm saying this number, because as you could see, the learning limit rate on this character is only 4. I'm only getting 4 times the EXP. I did the exact same thing with this character, who is 113. I went out and I found a band of 7 looters. I used the exact same step bow, the little one that you can buy really early on, with tournament arrows. And for those 7 looters, I got 2,600 experience at a learning rate of 4. That's 650 when you get rid of the learning limit. So by those numbers, I got more than 6 times as much EXP at 113 as I did at 20. So that tells you the higher the number goes up, the more raw EXP you get for doing the exact same thing. So it is more advantageous to concentrate on a smaller number of skills than it is to concentrate on a wide variety of skills. So what I do at the beginning part of the game is I choose skills that I know I'm going to work on right away to maximize my EXP gain, and then, as you can see, I focus heavily into those points. Social as well. Focus very heavily into them to keep them going. As you can see, I have a learning limit rate of 170, and I'm already up to 230. I don't know how far this is going to go. But you gain so much experience at those higher levels, same thing with trade, that it is advantageous to go that route. Don't start picking. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 skills. Even though I've only put 2 into trade, and this I actually did late. I didn't start at level. I started with one-handed to begin with. I made a mistake when I created my character. So what you want to do is you want to concentrate on a small number of skills. Now, I did put 1 point into tactics and roguery at the beginning, and just by putting that into it, you can get 45 to 50 points into there with just 1 point. And I will probably increase roguery higher. I'm going to probably start ramping that up, because as you can see, most of mine are about maxed out. I still do have, look at, and then this is what I'm getting at also. Look at how much green is left over. I still have a bunch into athletics, two-handed, bow, riding. I could still put another point. Look at all that leadership. Look at all that charm. And I'm only level 24. Once I start maxing all these skills out, I do not see a problem with this character getting into the 30s. And then once you get to this point, and you have all this extra sitting here, now this gives you the opportunity to learn another skill. Because throwing a skill point into here, you're not going to gain much raw EXP towards this level. Hardly anything at all. So if I start taking and putting a point into here, a point into here, a point, you're going to gain very little EXP, and you're actually going to stall your character because you're not gaining enough experience to keep the bar rolling. You have to make sure that you can keep getting massive amounts of experience at later levels. So what you want to do is concentrate on a few number of skills, and then once you have enough of this green sitting here that is available to be learned, then concentrate on another skill, whether it's medicine, scouting, athletics. So that way it will give you will still have all of this green sitting here to gain skill levels while you're gaining with this as well. Because if I were to gain probably 30 points in here, I don't think it's anywhere close to gaining a level because of how much EXP is needed at level 24. So my advice to people to keep them from stalling out is to choose just skills that you are going to use in, let's say, the first 300, 400 turns of the game, and plan it out ahead of time. So that way your character doesn't stall out. Keep pumping points into them. Don't just pump 1 or 2 points in and go to a different one and then a different one. You will stall out. The next thing I wanted to mention was your attribute point that you get every 4 levels. Putting that into one of these will gain 10 focus points into all 3 of these skills. Do not put a focus point into something where you're only using one skill. Like I am two-handed. I'm going to stay two-handed. What's the sense of putting it into full harm and one-handed? If you're going to use 2 of the points, you can probably go ahead and do it. But you really want to focus where you're going to spend all 3 skill points. That is why social is so high. Because you're going to use charm. You're going to use leadership. And I take a couple hundred turns out to do trading. Because trade has some amazing perks involved into it. Absolutely amazing perks. So you want to figure that out as to where you're going to put it. Endurance for me is one because it just happens that you can gain, I think it's 2 points I spend immediately right in the character selection. I'm going to do riding because I'm a horse archer. I'm going to do athletics because I'm going to do sieges and I'm not going to be on a horse. And you can always spend those points into smithing because early on it's advantageous to turn hardwood into charcoal because you can get it at a better price. You can actually make more money doing it. You won't gain trade EXP for it, but you can make more money doing it. So the character selection screen is very, very important for your beginning game. And I will go ahead and I will show you exactly how I create a new character. Okay, this is the character selection screen. Now I'm using a Flandian for this, and I'm going to show you my setup that I use. Now, if you go ahead and pick this, then that means you're going to be having, you got to be doing pole arms, and you got to be on a horse, and that attribute point is going into social. So if you're using pole arms on a horse, this is actually pretty good. Where if you take mercenaries, it gives you a crossbow. Okay, well, if you're going to use crossbow, that's not bad. However, it has also put your focus point into control, meaning there's going to be an extra 10 for bow and an extra 10 for throwing. That's not very advantageous. I start out with urban merchants. The reason why I start out with urban merchants is because these are the three skills that I'm always going to use. And it does put a point in intelligence, which is actually not a terrible thing. Because I also do want to get 25 medicine for the perk that gives you an extra 10 HP. So I'm thinking ahead as to what I'm going to use, and it will also help me out with my steward. So make sure you're picking things that are going to benefit you. Next, where are you going to put this? Now, if we choose just leadership skills, it's going to put a point into cunning. Now, cunning can actually not be a bad thing to use if you're going to use all three of these skills. And I will say that once again, if. Brawn, same way. Throwing, two-handed. Once again, this is going into vigor. Are you going to use all three of these skills? If the answer is no, you are wasting those 10 focus points. I normally do skill with horses because, as I explained, I want to get my medicine to 25 for that perk. And also, as I said earlier, endurance and social are two of the best for running all three skills. Next, I go for caring for horses. Why? Because once again, I'm getting endurance. And then I am also gaining a point in intelligence or in steward, because steward obviously is one of the most important for gaining troops. Once again, you can look through all these. Do you want control? Do you want cunning? Are you going to be one-handed? Always, tutor is actually not a bad one if you're going to be an engineer, but look for the ones where you are going to benefit most. Now, for this next one, I choose Road with the Scouts. I am a horse archer, so I'm gaining riding, I'm gaining bow, and it's going into endurance, where I'm going to use all three of these in the game. Now, this is the only one that is going to vary, because at this point, you're actually going to be able to choose stuff that is going to give you traits that you will use in the game. The trait system is not really functioning, I think, too well. I do think it is working, but I don't think that great. I normally choose treated the people well. I like the fact that you get a mercy, a generosity, and an honor, even though generosity and mercy go bye-bye later on for me. I choose this because, once again, social is the biggest thing for me, and another point into steward. However, here's calculating again, valor, and valor. This is actually going to come into play once they fix the trait system. So this could actually change for you. So as you can see, led a caravan. Are you going to use tactics? I do put a point into tactics. However, if you're not going to focus into this, you're wasting that point into cunning. So I do treat it to people well because it puts a point into social, a point into charm, which you're going to use, and a point into steward, which you're going to use. Now, the last one has been different for me. I used to choose subdued the raiders, and I did that back when the old point system allowed you to gain skill points easily at lower levels. As you can see, it put it into vigor. You do start one-handed, and you get athletics. That's really cool. However, under the new point system, you don't want to waste points at the beginning. So therefore, I am actually now going to change this up. As you can see, you got there, you got there. So which point do you do? There's two choices for me to make. Now, obviously, you could do Road with the Scouts because it gives you archery. However, it's going to give you control. I'm not using these. If you're going to use the cunning, it's good. However, for me, you organize the breakout. It's going to give you 1 point into charm, 1 point into leadership, and your attribute into social. As I showed before, all these get used by my character. So this is how I would optimize my character. And then after I create my character, the first points, because I'm going to use these. Okay, I'm going to use bow, riding. You use charm by gaining skills or by doing quests in towns. You're going to use medicine because you're going to be the surgeon right away, and Steward is going to raise up immediately, which I'll discuss that in a quick second here. So all these skills I am going to use right away. Trade will be done in the first couple hundred turns. Leadership does go up a little bit on its own, but that is going to be something that's going to be highly valuable when you become a vassal. So I'm going to use these. Now, when you first level, you want to think to yourself, what am I going to put into that I am using right now? I'm not talking 200 turns from now. When you level, it's right now. Are you a horse archer? Put into bow or maybe riding, but I would suggest bow because you want to get that learning rate up. Steward is always amazing to do, and this is where I'm going to delve into Steward. All you need to do to get Steward in the early game, and I will suggest, I've seen people do this in playthroughs, and I just want to scream at screen when they do this. They'll pick up food from, the town right close by, Poros, or they'll buy a couple food from a village. Go a little bit to your left and go to Zayanica. They have extremely cheap food prices to begin the game. You only need to pick up 4 different variations of food to gain Steward. I'll run over there, I'll grab 1 grain since I already have 1 on your character, and then I'll grab 2 of something else each. I'll grab 2 grapes, I'll grab 2 fish, I'll grab, let's say, 2 olives. I am now gaining Steward immediately on day 1. As long as you keep at least 4 food variety, you're going to start massively building Steward. And this is going to fuel your leveling through the game. Massively do it. That is a helpful hint I'm giving you right off in this EXP video, where you are just going to fly. But if you're going to be a horse archer, I would highly suggest that you put a couple points into bow immediately. Then, obviously you want to worry about your Steward. As I said, I do put a point into tactics and roguery because I want roguery for the additional battle loot, and tactics I want because I want to get that first perk that gives 10% more morale loss for cavalry. So I want that. And then you need to choose a one-handed weapon because, as you know, in battle they flee. And then you're going to be using a weapon later on. So you're going to want to put 1 point into that to get that going early game. So that is my advice when it comes to the new leveling system to keep your character from bogging down. Choose correctly at the beginning of the game. Allocate your points smartly into 6, 7, 8 skills at most until you have most of them at 4 or 5. Once you have them up to 4 and 5, then start working on another skill and pump every point into that skill, like let's say medicine, until that raises up until you have 4 or 5. Then pump a point into another skill. That should help keep your character from bogging down into the mid-20s to 30 level and let you somewhat easily start progressing through the 30s. However, if I find out that we still do seem to start bogging down at 30, then I'll see if maybe we can go ahead and discuss with the devs. Maybe I'll talk to Mexico and see if we can ease up maybe the level requirements in those levels to make it a little bit easier. But I hope this really helped you out into figuring out how to initially create your character so you don't have problems. and then how to allocate your points so you don't have problems in the later game. If this did help you, please like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. And as always, take care, and thanks for watching.